Great, great. Hey there, Calvin.
Hey.
Just slid on in there right as the
Yeah,
theme
yeah.
music. I said, I heard that little pop. I was like, what is that pop? Because I,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he ain't making it today. All
Oh
right,
yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. That's dandy. We're gonna move on. Hey, listen, hey JR, we were gonna make a move anyway, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. You sure were.
Uh-huh. All right, guys. Well, JR and I were having a good conversation about weather. So, what's the weather tracking like where you are today here in Detroit, Michigan? I think it hit up to as high as about 52, 53, but it was beautiful and sunny. And I really enjoyed the autumn colors as I was out for my walk earlier today, this afternoon. What about you, JR? What's the weather doing there in the UK?
Weather is doing schizophrenic things right now. We have uh, rain 1 minute and sun the next. Uh, not making its mind up at all. So yeah, quite turbulent.
Oh, okay. I get it. I get it. So kind of rainy, kind of sunny 1 minute and rainy the next, huh?
Yeah, in the sun it's warm, but trust me, by the time you put your sunglasses on, it starts raining. So
All right.
Right, right, right. Oh, hey there, everybody out in the chat. Thanks for coming on in. I know we were running a little behind. Please forgive us. We were running a little bit behind, but I appreciate
Mhm.
you guys hanging in there. Show Orchard, Colton James, you can claim first in the chat. Good to see you, Colton James. He said, "Hey to everybody." Let me go back there. Um, Show Orchard came in and she's saying, hey, hi, Aubrey. Happy Sunday. Yes, happy Sunday. Indeed, indeed. Reza Faithful, one of our day oneers, is in the house. Good to see you, Reza. Good to see you. At Kirby, another one from way back when. Remembers me when I was still in diapers. There's
All
Kirby. Hey,
right.
Kirby. And let's see who else. Oh, you JR. I was gonna say, who is this JRT fella? JRT in the house. Okay. All right. All right. Enough of that. So we're getting everybody in. Just come on in. And as you come in, guys, please do us a favor. Do me a favor and click that like button. Just click the like button. It really helps us to get out in the algorithm. If you can, if you have a channel or share it out after
Mhm.
or share it out now to let people know that we are live with this make a move, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So we opened up this episode, and the fellows are going to kind of have to help me out here because I did not get my notes into StreamYard. I had to do it the old-fashioned way, notebook. But we start out with beautiful Tamika Lee, who is the matchmaker for the ladies, and she has selected four gentlemen for these ladies to go out with, and she's based it upon what she sees as perceives as their physical types, but also on a deeper level, their like things that would be good in a relationship, right, Jr.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yes, indeed.
So we have got here. Oh my goodness, am I in the right notebook here? Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. I got the wrong
Mhm.
notebook. Same right color, wrong notebook. We've got for Zadia, we've got Cameron. We've got for Ashley, we've got a good-looking guy named Marcus with the
Mhm.
little bit of blonde in the
Crown
highlights
on
in the
top.
top of his head. Huh? I'm sorry.
Crown on top.
With the crown on top. Yep, we got the little highlights. And for Vern, we've got Raymond, who is very tall, apparently a former basketball player over in the European leagues. And then for Sharice, we've got three-piece suit Maurice.
Mhm.
Three-piece suit Maurice is there. So guys, so they meet their guys, and the next thing we know that happens is Zadia and Cameron get changed into some more casual clothes so they can go on what? A bike
A
ride.
bike ride.
JR?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. Well, Calvin, go ahead, tell us, what did you think of the bike ride with Zadia and Cameron?
Well,
Give us
that
some.
was interesting because he exposed to something she said she hadn't did in quite a while, but she
Mhm.
did enjoy it.
Yep.
Um, it's interesting because it gave him a chance to bond and connect. Just get into another zone instead of they saw how they dealt with each other close and personal, and they enjoyed one another. It was interesting.
I liked it. I did like
Mhm.
it. I always like as a girl because I like to get dressed up too, like most women do. You know, we like to
Mhm.
get dressed up, get our hair did, our nails did. But I also like if a guy were to tell me we're gonna do something more casual, go hiking
Mhm.
or something outdoors, as long as the weather's halfway decent. I'm pretty much gonna be game for it. You know, and
Yeah.
bike riding is something that I actually like. You know, it's very
Okay.
popular. It's very popular here in Michigan. I belong to a
Mhm.
couple of different bike riding clubs in the summer and the good weather months, right? What
Yeah.
about you, JR? What was your take on the date?
Uh, initially, good date. I felt that they were both intrigued and interested. The curiosity was there. Um, he was very complimentary about her physical, and she
Mhm.
said compliments will get him everywhere.
Yeah.
So she liked that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, good date so far. Surface level conversation seemed to be okay, but when the conversation went to the more deeper stuff, then that's
Oh, I'm
where I think.
sorry. Hold up one second, and please forgive me for interrupting you, Jr. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes. There's a lot going on today. It's like my second live, and I've got another one to go. I am sorry. So I'm confusing the audience. So guys, the first date was Zadia and Cameron, and that was not a bike date. They were
Oh,
on the
okay.
balcony. Yeah, no, but you're fine. You're where I meant to be, but I kind of blended two dates and the names and the activity because that's Ashley later on and Marcus that do the bike day. So we're gonna
Mhm.
we're gonna go ahead, but understanding that now we're talking actually about Zadia and Cameron. They were on the balcony in what looks like, if I believe, because I've been to New Orleans only once. It looks like they're in the French Quarter, which is a very famous known area of New Orleans, right? So go
Mhm.
ahead. You were saying Jr. about Zadia and Cameron.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Zadie and Cameron, they looked like they had a good date. Um, Again, conversation started well, and then it when it went to the more deeper conversations, then that's where I think eyebrows started to be raised a little bit because, as we find out
Why?
later,
Uh-huh.
as we find out later, um, you know, the match may not be as much as we would have hoped from their interaction.
Well, now, JR, you seems
Hmm.
like you're being just a little bit cryptic.
Hmm.
Um, I thought, you're gonna have your opinion. I'm gonna have my opinion. I thought that there was good chemistry and really, really good energy coming off of Cameron. But are you referring to the part of the dates? Because there's a couple parts in the dates, and I think I can agree with you on this. So, for example, he says some things that they have a lot in common because they kind of cross paths. He was at the University of Houston for one semester.
Same university. Yep.
Yeah, and she was there, right? And she
Hmm.
graduated from there. But at some point, he says we got a lot in common, and she says, "Oh, that's just surface level stuff." I was
Exactly.
annoyed.
Yep.
I was annoyed by that. So, are you referring to things like that? And there's some
Yes,
other.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So
Because
let me.
that was a bonding, that was a shared experience, right? How many
Yes,
times are
that's
you
where
going
you
to actually
bond.
meet someone blindly, and it turns
Hmm.
out they went to the same high school, college, university as you at the same time that you were there as well?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yep. And you're right, Show Orchard. I caught myself and he caught me. You're right. That was Ashley and Marcus, and I had the wrong name, different date. So you're right. We're gonna come to that in a second. But so yeah, you didn't like. I mean, what did you feel like when she said that for you as a guy? Had you been on that date and that were you, how would you have taken that? How do you think you would have felt about that?
um I wouldn't have felt a way about it.
Okay.
Obviously surface level is cool. And if you have things in common, then I wouldn't expect it to necessarily be dismissed,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
straight
part.
away. At least enjoy the moment where we're actually bonding and have compatibility, But yeah, Zadia, I guess, wanted to just skip the small talk and get straight down to business.
And so and that's what I was thinking too. Right, exactly. She is a person, and you bring up a very good point. So this is what I see between her and Cherise. They are two women who are driven. They're goal oriented to the point where when dating, they're gonna rush to the end of the game, and that's not how the game is played.
Mhm.
You don't get to rush ahead to through the how are you, nice to meet you, let me find out about you. You don't get to rush through that stuff and get
Mhm.
to the okay, now I'm going to propose to you. No man I've ever met is jumped into wanting to marry a woman without really getting to understand who she is, and you should want to know, get to know who that man is,
Mhm.
True.
you know.
It
Go ahead,
seems,
Kel.
even though they're seasoned with dating, they're still trying to find the way in a manner that works best for them, because they're
Yeah.
30 something now. So
Mhm.
at this stage, you should know with the surety what you really want, instead of just be patient because you can't, like you say, you can't rush the process. You have to grow to know a person to see if it's beyond the aesthetics to something that's uh,
Mhm.
more substantive. Because you get to know a person, not just their career, not just their money, not just their looks, but if you're talking about a lifelong commitment, and you're at this stage in your life, you're not so just attracted to the sizzle. You do need the steak more than that, you know.
Mhm. There you go. That's
Yeah.
it. Talk about it,
Mm.
Calvin.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And so now we
Mhm.
can go ahead and move on. I'm sorry, guys, for getting everybody all twisted around. That was my fault. So now we
Mhm.
move on to Ashley, and that is Marcus. Ashley and
Mhm.
Marcus, they're on the bike date. And I think, Calvin, you've already told us how you felt about the bike date scene.
Mhm.
So, JR, why don't you pick it up and tell us what
Mhm.
your thoughts are about the bike date?
Yeah. Bike date was cool. She seemed to enjoy the date. Um, Obviously, it's not something she's done quite often, but for the most part, it seemed like they had a very good chemistry as well. Um, Nothing really sprang out to make me think this is going to go left. So,
Mhm.
and she seems like the bubbly person in the group, so one of the more easier people to get along with.
Mhm.
Right. I totally agree. I totally agree. Um, so yeah, they have their bike date, and then they end up that, which is a nice finish to the date. They stop at a ice cream parlor, guys, and they proceed to talk. But unfortunately um Marcus, Marcus makes the mistake of mixing up Zadia's outfit with with
Mhm.
Ashley because they were sitting right next to each other, but yet they're
Mhm.
two very different women. Um,
Mhm.
what was your take on that, Jr.? That little faux pas.
Yeah, he blew it because Zadia said that she wants her guy to be all about her, right? And I think
You mean Ashley? You mean
no, no, no.
Ashley?
I'm saying, I mean, all of the
Oh,
ladies will have that in common. Like
oh
they
yeah,
want it.
yes,
So
yes.
if you mix up anybody's name,
Mhm.
that means that to them that you probably weren't paying attention enough to what they were particularly wearing,
Mhm.
and you may have had your eyes on one of the other ladies. So it was a big mistake for real. And yeah, I mean, sometimes even a slip of the tongue, calling her a wrong name, that would be the same thing. So
Y-
it's
Yeah,
one way to really ruin the vibe that you might have.
yeah, because they were vibing at first. I think they really
Mhm.
were. And
Mhm.
Ashley, I will say, for me as a lady, I think that she wasn't harsh about it. She wasn't rude about it, but she did catch him and point it out. Because she said, "No, I had on tan," and he was like, "Well," it was so funny. He was like, well, kind of tannish gold, kind of tannish gold, kind of tannish yellow. No,
Mhm.
no, it was just tan. And her and Zadia, they of course they helped us with it because they showed the where they were actually sitting right next to each other. And the funny thing about it, I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Because he was talking about before he met her and saw her on the street with the bike, he was talking about her figure. So I guess he was actually talking about Zadia's figure. You know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, all right,
Mhm.
yeah, that's interesting. So then we move on. The next day we have yeah, we move on to Vern. Vern and Ramon, I thought, did the smartest thing actually ever for their date. They went and had just drinks only, no food, just drinks. And we find out that Ramon is 38, retired basketball player in the European League. So I said, okay, that's interesting. Um, they have conversation. Vern tells him that she enjoys traveling. She's not been to all the countries that he talked about, but he says if she ever wants to go to France, that was like his third home, that he'd be more than happy to, I guess, show her around. Calvin, what was your take on Vern and Ramon's date where they just had the drinks?
Well, it's interesting too. Till she asked the question about uh, infidelity, and that's when it went south because she knew that he had been, playing basketball and all that, had life of his own. But the red flag for her was when she mentioned that he mentioned that he had been a cheater. But
Well, I don't know. Are we talking about the same date?
I
JR,
think
did I miss something, you guys? Because I think she asked him about, I think she asked him more so when was the last time he had been in a relationship? And he says to us 2008. And I'm like, oh my goodness, 2008. Do you realize how long ago that was, sir?
but commitments, because I think he had kind of just enjoyed his life and not been committed to anybody because he's on the road a lot. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
And that when she asked him about him being faithful, that sent up a red flag. So maybe that was the second day. But I thought just the fact that he was used to having his own way in his own life, then maybe he would not be a good catch for her. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're going back to the first day because you weren't here. You're catching up, but yeah, no, that was another guy, and that was their first date. But yeah. Well, what did you think though? To ask the question to you, Calvin, what did you think about the fact here's a man that is in his mid-30s and he has not had a relationship in over 15 years?
Well, he's used to playing the fields. So far as
Yeah.
commitment, being and a person that's willing to commit, and that's one of the problems with casual dating and not being connected. You get used to having your way. So when it's time for you to commit to somebody, are you really willing to or capable of committing? Unless it's somebody that's exceptional. But if you're used to having things on your own terms, it takes a different mindset to embrace a commitment. So that's a red flag for a male or female. If a person just wanting to do things their way. So being committed to somebody takes a lot of work. A lot of work.
Yeah, it does. And you're, I guess, a high value man making all that money in not the NBA, but whatever it's called over in Europe, but playing basketball professionally. I'm hoping they get paid well because I have seen some other reality shows where the guys weren't paid that well. So I don't know what he was paid, but hopefully well. JR, maybe you know a little bit about the European basketball leagues.
Yeah, I do. Basically, the NBA has a small chance for people to get, a lot of guys who have talent don't always make it that far. Sometimes it's life, sometimes it's opportunity, sometimes it's the fact that it's overcrowded or they're not what the team's looking for at that time. So a lot of those players who don't make it often go into lower leagues or travel to Europe, and they can make decent money because they're from the States. So there's automatically an assumption that they're going to be very good. But they will never get paid as much as they would do if they were on a professional NBA contract or even a G League or D League contract. The interest in basketball is it's a very popular sport, but there isn't the investment in European basketball to compare it salary-wise to anywhere close to what the NBA players get. So he would be in a position where, for his height and athleticism, he would be a very valuable asset. So he probably would be getting a lot of money, depending on how good he is. And if he stayed out there for as many years as he says he has, then yeah, he'd have to be pretty decent. And I think the downside to that type of career, traveling to Europe, he probably will struggle to find and hold down a relationship because there's a lot of travel. You're spending a lot of time away from home. There isn't enough time to build the type of relationship that you probably would hope for because you're traveling from city to city. And then he's probably going back to the States off season and things like that. So,
Mhm.
but saying that, someone like Venetia is, like, she's definitely going to be turned off by that type of instability, because what
Mhm.
she's looking for is stability, consistency. And
Mhm.
even though you
Yeah.
may have the height, that's just
Mhm.
a physical thing. But in terms of
Yeah.
how a relationship's going to work,
Mhm.
uh, that's not going to be the type of lifestyle that suits what she's looking for. And even
Mhm.
if he's not playing basketball anymore,
Mhm.
um, having lived that lifestyle might still raise concerns for her on whether that's the
Mhm.
type of guy she wants to be with. But on a
Well,
side note,
mhm.
this guy
Good.
reminded me of Justice from a few seasons ago
We
on Venetia.
did. That's I couldn't think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jr. I could not
Mhm.
think of who he reminded me of, but I said he reminds me of someone from RTL, but I could not. That's exactly it. He
Mhm.
does. He does remind me of Justice. That's exactly who it was, and I think Justice played basketball
Yeah, he
also.
did. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. How do we know that wasn't Justice? And he just changed his name around on us. But
yeah.
um. But the other thing, so I had then very good points, Jr. I guess my concern was the two things that stood out to me about Ramon, as handsome as I thought he was, is that the fact that he talks about, well, I'm a recently retired, and then he added in a year and a half ago. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, dude, a year and a half ago, that's a minute ago. Like,
Yeah,
I can see if you played professional ball and you wanted to take a break and you had that savings and investment there, where you maybe even took off 3 months, 2 months, maybe maybe at the stretch, like 4 months. But for you to take off a year and a half, like, what are your plans? I think, like you said, if I'm Vernicia, I have three daughters, two of which that are still underage. One is in college. I'm gonna want to know about this guy. What is he doing for an income? Because Vernicia is she out there doing the thing? Now, what's he doing? Is he living off of his savings and that's just dwindling down, or has he got feelers out there to maybe coach some college, or what's his
Mhm.
plan for the rest of his life? Because he's only 38.
Mhm.
yeah. But at 38, your basketball career is finished. So,
I
like, yeah,
that Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying. So what's his plan? What's part
Mhm.
two? What's
yeah.
part two of his career?
Well, yeah, that's probably the journey he's on now. But your prime in basketball like finishes at about 35.
Mhm.
So if he's a year and a half retired, he's not going back to play basketball. The only natural career progression would be to go into coaching, or whether
Commentate.
it's in college, university, or in
Mhm.
professional. Because you want to, if he's had such an extensive career, then he might want to share those experiences and teach other kids
Mm-hmm.
how to play. But
Mhm.
if he's not in that already, looking to try and get that type of career locked down, then
Yeah.
yeah, Venetia's going to have cause for concern, because he's going to be starting something else completely from scratch. And basketball is
Mhm.
what he's been doing for a majority of his adult life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our own glorious Monique King, moderator extraordinaire, agrees with you, Jr. She
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, that's it. Justice. That's his name."
Mhm.
Hmm.
High Vibe sees to think that perhaps justice is for the streets. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if he hasn't had relationships, then he's been in them
Mhm.
streets, right?
That would be it. That would be the
Mhm.
thing. Hey, LMV. Oh, she over there at your channel. Nice, nice. Yeah, let's support, guys. JR's got his channel up and running. He's running this simultaneously. So if you want to jump in over there and click the like button and add some comments, we definitely gonna support him. And Calvin has a channel. You guys got to go over and check that out. Calvin just dropped some more shorts too, so you're gonna want to check that out. But I'm gonna continue on as we got to move forward. So now we get to Sharice and the fourth day. We get to Sharice and Maurice. Say that 5 times real fast, okay?
Yeah.
Mm.
They go on a lovely dinner date to a top of the line restaurant from the looks of it. And the thing that I have to notice right off the rip is that Maurice has gentlemanly like tendencies because they're walking up to the restaurant, and I love to see it. He was on the outside, on the curb side of the sidewalk, not walking on the inner side and letting her walk on the outside of the curb, which I absolutely hate. Yes, I'm old fashioned and I know it,
Mhm.
and I ain't afraid to say it because I'm proud of it, right? But
Right.
he helped her with her chair. He was very gentlemanly. And then as they were seated and they were beginning to talk, a lady came in and brought the beautiful bouquet of roses and
Mm.
lilies. And I was like, I was floored. And she seemed very impressed too. What did you think about that, JR?
Sharissa Maurice, I thought this is the type of guy that would match with Sharice, to be honest,
Yeah.
until he spoke about the kids, because she obviously has a problem with men with kids. And
Mhm.
both of the connections she's had so far have kids. So that was a turn off for her. But I think like his how can I put it? I think looks wise, they kind of suit. But again, when you get beneath the surface level, um, I'm not sure they match. I mean, he seemed way more interested in that salad or whatever he was eating than
Yo,
some of the.
we're gonna get into this because wait a minute. I want to know from you, should a person here, guys, in the chat, you've been on
Mhm.
a date before and it's an eating date. You're at a lunch, you're at a dinner. Did anyone grow up with the mom and the dad and the parent that said we don't talk at the dinner table while we're eating? Did anybody do that? Does anybody recognize and know that when you're eating and talking that you are swallowing extra air, which adds to your di- what's the word I'm trying to say? Your gastrointestinal. You add stress to that, right?
Mhm.
So does
Uh,
anybody else understand and know? Because I remember my parents used to say this. Now I know I grew up and I went on dates and I ate and talked. Okay, I did, but
Mhm.
the thing what I was noticing, and that's a very good point, Jr. Thank you for bringing us to that. I thought to myself, he was talking to her before he started eating. Before that lady brought out the waitress brought out the food, he was talking, right? They were having
mhm,
conversation. As
mhm,
soon as that food was present in front of him, he
Mhm.
began to eat. And what I didn't understand was, see, because I think there's regional differences and cultural differences even within our country here in America, right?
Mhm.
And the thing that I notice is that they're in the South, and Sharice doesn't act like she understands the South, even though she lives in Miami. This man, he was eating and he had very few words for her, but I don't think he wanted to tell her that he doesn't like to eat and talk.
mhm.
What if that was the case?
Yeah.
Is this the one that's a lawyer?
Yes, the lawyer. Yes. Uh-huh. What do you
Well,
think, Calvin?
the conversation was going well. Then it fizzled out. So,
Because he was eating.
but he was eating. But then also, he could have kind of worked through that. I thank you. I mean, food is multifactorial. It's not just
Hmm.
for consumption or nutrition. It's also for socializing. So I don't
Mm,
think it's maybe it was something about there as vibration that he felt for. Maybe something wasn't there. Maybe he just wasn't focused enough on her because just because he was eating, I still feel that he could have talked at the same time, you know? Even the fish come up for air, so it was something, maybe something about them that just kind of he got distracted, not just by the meal, but maybe something with himself.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know if it's just me, guys, and maybe I'm becoming Sharice like because I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
nitpicky here.
Yeah.
But when you're I think when you're having conversation with a person, especially on the first time and the first
Mm-hmm.
few times, instead of always asking so many questions and making it feel like it's an interrogation, how about you
Mhm,
share something about
Mm-hmm.
yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I really love to go ice skating, roller skating, bike riding,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you like to do, insert your thing. I like to do that, and I like to do that this time of the year, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, whatever. Why don't you start talking? Or even current events that are local, or current events that are national in nature that are neutral, not something that's going to be controversial. To me, having a conversation requires that you not just ask questions, but that you actually volunteer information about yourself, which would
mhm.
encourage the next person to do the same thing. What do you think, JR?
Right. I think there are a couple of things going on with this particular discussion. Um, right. So I think to start with, there are some parents or some people who they were told not to talk with their mouth full.
Hmm.
So so that's something where you find it quite disrespectful if someone's talking to you and they got a whole load of food in their mouth, right? That's not really
Yes.
the right thing to do. That's not etiquette to in some cases.
Yeah.
Also, I do think that there are some people that enjoy their food when a good plate served up in front of them. Yeah, you know what?
Mhm.
I'm gonna chow down, right?
Right.
But I think Calvin said something important, which was they were having a conversation. Then when the food came out, it was time to eat. And food is a social thing in some cases. Well, just like going out for drinks, you go out to eat. It's a chance to speak and get to know each other. You can talk about what you like to eat, and various conversations can flow. But I think that Charisse wasn't there to really eat. Charisse was there to ask questions in order
Hmm.
to get to the bottom of whether she likes this guy or not
Mhm.
and find out more about him. So that's where the interrogation comes in.
Ah.
And one thing that I particularly do not like at all, and I can't speak for all men, but I don't know many men that like this, which is the interrogation style of questioning, because it's not conversational. It's
No,
basically
it's
you're
not.
sitting there and you're firing off all these different questions, your needs, your wants, your demands, what you like, what you don't like,
Tell
and
him,
you're
JR.
firing ping,
Tell him.
ping, 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 ping. Yeah, right. And then for a guy on the receiving end of that, like myself, I'm just like, yeah, this isn't a conversation.
Mhm.
So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I like there's like I'm just answering questions, and the moment I give you an answer, you're gonna come back with questions about my answer.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't,
And
I don't,
never
I don't like that. It's a
volunteering
way of picking me
and never
apart.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but and
it's
never volunteering any information about herself.
exactly because the conversation is two-way, right?
Two
If you want
ways.
to find out something about me, okay, cool, ask me the question. Boom, I'll answer the question. Then it's my turn to send the serve back to you, right? So it
Correct.
makes
Like
it
tennis. Yes.
an interaction between the both of us rather
Interaction.
than a one-sided. I want to know about this, and this is what you did. Oh, did you really do that? Oh my god, that answer was, and then it's just making me feel like, man, like, why am I being interrogated? I
Mhm.
don't want to be in this situation. So conversation is two-way, interrogation is one way. And if the
Mhm.
conversation is going one way, I would hope that somebody who claimed to be self-aware, like Charisse, I think she
Yeah.
would realize that that style doesn't work.
Mhm.
Most guys do not want to hear 101 questions coming at them, and they don't get the chance to either eat their food or even have a good
Hmm.
dating experience with you.
Uh,
JR. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
um, what's interesting is that I don't have my notes, my kind of disadvantage, but has she ever, is this the one that had never been married and didn't have any children as well?
Correct.
No,
Correct.
he's got grown children.
No, I'm saying
Who?
the female,
Oh,
He
oh
Sharice.
he
yeah,
he said
Sharice.
she, Sharice,
Yeah,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
so in that respect,
And 44 years old.
yes, these are two people that are just coming to get to know one another, and they both
Mm-hmm.
bring to the table their own experiences and baggage and love, whatever has transpired before now. So, when you think about it, when you're coming to meet one another, this your first date, you should be as relaxed as possible. And like you said, don't it's not an interrogation or cross examination or confrontation for that matter. Just
Right.
relax
Teach
and come
Calvin.
to enjoy one another, because this is still an opportunity for you to, if it's ready to love, you still both should be open to that. That's the issue. Just relax and enjoy the ride. So just
Right.
be patient and understand that you both bring your own respective experiences to the equation. So um, don't be so overwhelmed with the moment. Just relax and enjoy it. So you have a nice meal in a nice setting. just
Mhm.
get to know one another, because along the way, as it progressed, you did choose them. So if you chose them for a reason. So you can't always come into a dating situation and with your guards up, because I thought this is a fresh start for both parties.
You see it, Kelvin. You see what I
Mhm.
see. Kelvin, do you see what he sees? I
Yeah.
see that both I feel as if both Sharice and Zadia have their
Mhm.
guard up.
That's
They have
right.
walls up.
Mhm. Be
Yeah.
patient. Be patient and enjoy the ride, because if something can become you're filling each other out. So you ask questions, we understand that. And we may say something to make a person uncomfortable, you still have to reinvent yourself. You can't just be so, because you both have had your own disappointments with relations. So, the things that didn't occur, you was hoping that things did occur and it didn't materialize. So you have to relax, because everybody that comes to your life, it's another chance for you to get to know who you really are.
Mm. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important
Yeah.
because,
Mm-hmm.
like, as critical as, or they're looking at these guys and their dating histories and things like that. But like was said on the first episode, their dating experiences hasn't gone well either.
That's right.
And that's why I was talking last week about there needing to be, like, are we going to see some type of growth or change or progression in how they go about this particular show?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there is a rush to try and lock down someone very
Mm-hmm.
quickly, because it is kind of like speed dating. You can only date while they're in front of you, and it isn't ready to love where you're going to meet in mixers and all these other things. These guys are going to be thrown
Oh.
in week after week, I think. And
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true.
mm,
So she did want to. Okay, so that makes me understand what you're saying. Thank you for that, Jr. That
mhm.
makes me understand it a little bit differently, but yet and still, I feel like, and this is just me saying from watching them from their previous seasons, right? Talking about Zadia. I know we're on Sharice right now with her date with Maurice, but I'm kind of comparing Sharice and Zadia's style. Is that to me, they
Mm-hmm.
both seem very like, let's get to the end of all of this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I
Yeah,
guess maybe if the end goal is marriage, and they just seem to want to breeze past everything and dismiss everything, dismiss bonding, dismiss
Mm-hmm.
discussion, dismiss that maybe your style at the dining table is different from my style, and that's a part of
Mm-hmm.
life. That's a fact. We didn't all grow up in the same household. Some people here in the chat said that they learned growing up that they never learned that you don't have to, not talk and eat at the same time. A lot of people in the chat said, yeah, I don't want people talking over my food and talking to me, because saliva flies when you're talking and speaking over food. So there's a
yeah,
lot of different, we all grew up differently and people
of
date
course.
differently. And I just don't see that Sharice, the thing about Sharice, because the first thing about it, let me get back to the kids, okay? When she asked that man and he told her that he was married, and I like the way he said it. He didn't say I was divorced. He said I was married. So means divorce, but he said it in a different way. He's a lawyer, right? He's
A
good with
different
words.
connotation.
Different connotation, and he's a lawyer, so he know, like he said, he knows how to persuade. But I like the way he said that. And then he said he kindly owned that he had 4 children, and that the youngest one was 21 years old, which means he's an adult in our country, right? So now, Sharice, this whole thing, we're going to go back to what we talked about last week, JR. Sharice, I feel like it's getting ridiculous in this ideal that she's going to meet somebody her age that doesn't have children.
That's
Well,
unrealistic.
it's not only that she's looking for someone her age that doesn't have children, but someone her age, successful as she is, or even more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all these, she has quite a few different things which she's looking for, and that guy is going to be a unicorn. He's going to be very rare, and
Mm-hmm. I
you
wouldn't
know,
want him, to be honest. I'm gonna tell you, JR,
right,
about me. I
and
wouldn't want him.
and,
I don't want
and the
no
thing
man
is,
that's 50 years old and ain't had no kids.
right, and the thing is,
And no spouse.
how are you going to skip the other crucial parts of a relationship, i.e., the intimacy, the connection?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about, okay, do you have kids or not? How much do you earn? Okay, I'm ready to marry you. There's a lot of things that go before all of that, and no guy's going to just see her on site and get down on one knee and propose. That's not going to happen. So that, I
Not
think,
gonna happen.
be real
Not
about
this
that.
big old age, it ain't.
Nah, you need to be real about it. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't
It
happen.
brings up a lot of interesting questions so far as if you've never been married at a certain stage, why have you never been married? If you don't
Right.
So
for
I mean, the thing,
her or
yeah,
any guy,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I
and
say
to have,
especially for the man because sorry to cut you off, but I have to say especially for men because still we live in a culture where it still for the most part requires that men do the asking. So if men are doing the asking, and to me, if I meet a guy, he says he's 45, never been married, I'm beginning to start to wonder some things. Now I'm not saying I'm assuming, but I'm beginning to wonder. Now he can clarify that or he cannot, but I'm already questioning. Like, you 45, you never been married. Are you a doctor? You've been in school for most of your life. What's going on? Tell me what's
Right.
going on.
but
I
See,
need.
that works both. Anybody that has not
exactly.
been married at a
Well,
certain
you say
stage.
that. You say that. But go ahead. I'm gonna let you say. Have your say. Have your say. Go ahead, Calvin.
I was saying anyone that has not been married at
Yes.
40 something years old,
Yeah.
not that it's bad, but I'm saying, why have you been in any long term commitments? You have to ask, have you been in long term commitments? Have
Mm-hmm.
you not had the kind of relationship that you really needed? I mean, there's something going on with a person that if they have not been even close to married at 45, you know. And
Right.
I'm not being mean or offensive, but it's just that commitments is your ultimate goal when it comes to relationship, preferably one that leads to marriage.
Right. And
Right.
and real quick, Jay, let me just say this to Calvin and those that are listening out, because we have a very vast audience. And when I look at my analytics, we have a very vast audience from 18 to over 65, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Calvin, for you and I, for our generation, that's the goal. That has usually typically been the goal for those of us that are just not some kind of recluse or that are just so career driven that we don't care if we ever get married.
That's the
I
same.
think for like maybe say let's say JR's generation and younger, that's not necessarily no longer the goal, but I still have to question it whether it's my generation or if I'm looking at my children and their friends. I'm kind of questioning if you're out here dating. And so then what are you dating for? Are you just dating for entertainment? Are you just dating for physical intimacy without commitment? Let me know. Let me know what it is you're dating for.
But that's what I said. Even if we have not been married, have we been in long-term relationship that
Yes.
was of a comparable nature? Not just marriage, but have you been in long-term enduring relationship of a comparable, not just marriage, but have you been in a relationship that brought out some dynamic qualities in you? Have you just been just on the here and there throughout? That's a long time. And I have to ask, have you been in relationship that would have led to marriage or would of a commitment nature, you know? And if so, how long
Mm,
were you involved with that person? Was it 3 months, 6 months,
mm,
5 years, 10 years? I mean, yeah,
right.
these things are important, you know.
Yeah,
See,
important to know
that,
because we found out quickly enough about what's his name, Ramon. Ramon ain't been in a
exactly.
relationship
Mhm.
since the Obamas were in the White House.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say. It's different strokes for different folks, right? Because
Mhm.
for
Absolutely.
some people, if a guy hasn't been in a relationship or been married, been in a long term relationship, yeah, that's going to be a cause for concern. Why haven't you been that, right? So that then immediately leads to, okay, well, are you capable of having that then? Because you've never had it before. And
Right.
then the other side is, okay, you've had a marriage before and had a whole family before. Why are you not with them anymore? Like, what happened? You know,
Mm,
and like
awesome.
we're going to discuss later.
Mhm.
Tell me about your previous relationships. Oh,
Yeah,
well, my previous relationships don't have anything to do with what we're doing now. Type
but
attitude.
they do. But they
So,
do.
right. So there's different strokes for different folks, and there's no one size fits all. It just
That's
depends
true.
on the type of person who wants to get to know you and what their expectations are.
Yeah.
But I have a question though.
Yes. What's your
Like,
question? Yes,
'cause
dear.
obviously, you have Maurice and Charisse, right? Maurice has said he's had a family and previous marriage, right? And
Right.
Charisse has obviously had a reaction to that, which is, I don't know where I stand. In that pecking order, I don't know where I'd fit in, which is a logical conclusion because you're going to be fourth or
Oh,
fifth down.
right. When she said, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But would you say that someone like Charisse, for example, in that situation where she has been marriageless, childless at her age, would you say she's been in them streets too?
Ooh. Say
Because
that.
we all said it about the basketball player. So I'm just
Mhm.
wondering if it works the other
Okay.
way, where ladies who aren't married or haven't had a long-term relationship,
Mhm.
would you say that they've been in them streets as well?
That's a good question because here's the thing, though, Jr. The information that is lacking on her part is we don't know when she had her last serious relationship. He
Mm.
said the question was asked of him by Bernicia, and he admitted that his last relationship was as far back as 2008, which is about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
now to get back to your question about Sharice, I mean,
Mhm.
if her last relationship was 2008, yeah, I would definitely say the same thing about her. She for the
Mm-hmm.
streets.
It's been a long time because
How
obviously,
do we know that? How do we know
because,
that?
well, um, I,
We don't. We don't.
I
We
think
don't.
since Samson, I think Samson was her most her most recent interaction from what we all know, and that
Mm-hmm.
didn't even turn into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Before then, I can't remember what her vignettes were saying, her confessionals were saying on the season that she was on Ready to Love, but I don't think she spent much time dating. I think she was more
Mm-hmm.
career driven, career
Mm-hmm.
focused, and the relationship aspect was something that she hadn't
Mm-hmm.
um, taken much time to develop.
Mm-hmm. Either way, male or female, and it's.
Hmm.
I understand people have are not getting married, are getting married later in life, but not at all. We understand that, but it's
Right, like
still
Kimberly is saying here.
if you still
Hmm.
talking about you ready to love,
Hmm.
it takes you being able to become that person that's capable of loving and dealing with all the challenges that goes with long term commitments. Because if you have not had a commitment and you don't, it's a lot of energy that goes into maintaining a certain level of commitment and sustainability in relationships, because you have to deal with the good, the bad, and ugly. So if you're a person that bails out when things don't go your way, or you're not willing to weather the storm, then um, that's part of being in commitments. You have to be able to grow with that person and be able to deal with them and help them along the way. So if it gets thick and you thin out, and that's your mo when it comes to relationship, then how can you really talk about love if you're not understand that there's the good, the bad, and the ugly that goes along with it?
You guys are all bringing up good points because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's and people are out here commenting. I know I say some straightforward things. I guess I sound like I'm a New Yorker at times too because I just
Mm-hmm.
put it out there the way I see it, and I'm not saying that my viewpoint is always right. I'm
Yeah,
saying that it is a culmination of my experiences, my
that's
life
right.
experiences, and the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom that I do have. I try
Right.
to share it, and this is how I feel. This is my opinion, but you're entitled. Everybody's entitled, and I love what Jr. said. The different strokes for different folks, but I would have to wonder, and I'm saying that on because my continuum is that if you're young, you're single, that you are seeking a life partner. That's my that's my mindset. Now, if
Yeah.
somebody is thinking outside that box and
Mhm,
outside that
mhm, mhm,
continuum where someone could decide at 20, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. I'm going to have
mhm,
maybe some long-term relationships, 10 years here, 10 years there, but I don't want to be with the same partner for the rest of my life. That's too boring, or whatever the reason is. That's fine. Some people are polyamorous. There's all types of lifestyles. I
mhm,
don't come from that background. I'm not seeking that background. I'm not seeking that
mhm,
future, right? So that's kind of the box that I'm in. I can think outside the box, but for these shows, when you're dating, like I said, the question I'm just asking, I think people should be asking if you're dating, is what are you dating for? Because it
mhm.
seems like a lot of people are just dating for entertainment and for the
Yeah.
free steaks.
Well, the thing is, at this age, yes, like you should be asking those questions because you've gone through certain phases of your life where
Hmm.
if you're looking to start a family, then the time is pretty much now to do it, and that's according to the
Yes,
demographic of people they pick for the show. But
yes,
you do have a large section of people who come on this show who have chosen to focus on career first more than
Mhm,
absolutely.
relationships. So if we go back to a Sharice, or we go back to a Zadia, or we go back to even the basketball player who was on for 5 minutes on this episode, um, there are some people who get engrossed in their career, wanting to see how far they can go with it, and they don't meet someone along the way. And by the
mhm.
time that career is finished or they've reached their goal, they turn
Hmm.
around and they're like, there's no one to share this with.
Yeah.
That's
But
true.
still, but what you have to do though in that situation, in my opinion, is then you have to start dating as if you were younger. You have to genuinely take the time to feel people out and have conversations and laugh and joke and try and build bonds, because it's about
Okay.
building. You don't just go
Yeah.
from nothing and then go to a finished product. You have to build it,
Mhm.
and it takes
Yeah.
time to build things. And if you're impatient, then you're not going to take the time to build it. You're going to rush into
Yeah.
it, and it's going to be unstable. It's not going to work.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree with all of that, what you said. I
Mhm.
want to address something though, maybe a little bit off topic, but not really. Dee says in our comments, she's talking to Kimberly, that we're going back and forth, and I guess some things that we may have said or that I may have said. She says it appears that men are sometimes penalized for being responsible, and I was reading the previous conversation, so I know that she's referring to when I talk about men or women being older, having married, and maybe haven't had kids. Um, I would like to know, Dee, in what way are men ever penalized for being responsible and not procreating and not being with the mothers? How is there ever a penalty for that for men or women? If you decide that it is sacred to you and you want to have your children inside of marriage, which I think is a very responsible thing. For example, women, we know women can be taunted, teased, or even lose their fertility as they wait. We know that. But for men, how are men ever penalized for being responsible? I'm not sure I
Well,
really get that.
well, we've seen that on the show, because as soon as a guy mentions that he's had a failed marriage or he's got kids from that relationship where he was married, we saw in this episode that it automatically changed the tone in which the way Sharice looked at him,
Hmm.
despite her choosing him at the end, which we're going to get to. But
Yeah,
she was
hopefully.
put off by that. Some people are. Why didn't your
Yeah,
marriage work?
I,
Oh,
I
what did you do? What? Why? What? Why did your wife leave you? Why did you get a divorce? Like, those are the type of
mhm.
interrogation style questions on something that you went through
Mhm.
that could potentially ruin your connection. So if you're going to answer lots of questions, try and ask questions that are open ended, where your conversation can flow.
Yes.
If you sit back and start trying to pick apart what someone's telling you, you're weaponizing what they're
Mhm.
sharing with you in that vulnerable space, and that's going to lead to the
Mhm.
demise of that connection.
And that's thank you. You just brought up another point that while I was watching this, I thought about that too. Absolutely. Ask open-ended questions because Sharice, unfortunately, like I said again, there's some conversational skills that could be worked on, Sharice. If you're going to ask closed-ended yes and no questions, then that's what you're going to get. A yes, a no. Oh, have you been here before? Yes, a few times. Or he said, yes, I have. Yes, I have. Like, what else is he gonna say? Like, because if he's been there, chances are he was with another woman. Do you want him to tell you about his other date with this other woman?
Mhm.
No. So why are you going there? You don't really even know how to enjoy or to promote healthy conversation, stimulating conversation, because you're asking closed-ended questions. And
Yeah,
that's
but
a
why?
very good point. Go
I
ahead.
agree, but why are we expecting Sharice to be able to do that? Because she's not well versed in relationships herself. She's in the same situation as the other ladies. She's there looking for love because everything that she tried so far hasn't worked.
That doesn't
But
mean that you can't be a good conversationalist, Jr.
Yeah, you don't you listen. Everything takes practice. If you don't go out on dates and start
Yeah.
talking to guys and getting a gist for what type of guy likes what type of thing, then how are you going to start conversation? How are you going to engage the conversation for him to want to respond? You're a rookie yourself at a grown age, because you haven't taken the
Mm.
time to go into dating and seeing how men think, the type of
Mhm.
things that men like. It's all about how you are, what you want, your expectations, your needs, your wants, your desires, and then if he doesn't match that, then goodbye.
But that's just it. When you at this stage, even when you're more seasoned in your life and you're married or committed, you still have to look at the role that you play in achieving the quality relationships that you desire to have. Don't just look at the other person and what they're bringing and not bringing. Look at yourself too. Because
Hmm.
after all, you're feeding off one another. And when you look at how they're acting, look at how you act and promotes the actions that they do, you know? So you have to be ongoing. Even when you're married for an extent, you still have to look at the role that you play in bringing out the best in somebody, you know? Because
Hmm.
just relax and be more in tune with the fact is that you're two people. You're not just one person, you're two people that are together at some point in time, and you both bring to the table you're good, you're bad, and you're ugly, you know? So if you're talking about dating, you still have to look at okay, now I have had these kind of relationships thus far, but what is it about me that I'm still bringing? I still have the same kind of relationship that I have, and I'm 40 or 50 or 30, and I have what trend of thought I am that I'm attracting the women that may not be for me. For example, if you're dating, or what if you're married, what is it about me that's not helping my partner to go to the next level? Am I
Mm,
getting in the way of the process because of what the vibration that I'm giving to them? Because you operate with a certain level of awareness, you operate on a certain level whether you're aware or not. So a
mm-hmm.
person is responding to you as well, whether it's a dating situation or any relation. You're the person responding to how you make them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
And speaking of questions, because I have two questions before we go ahead and move on and kind of wrap up, because I'm going to be on air with a whole nother interview in a few minutes, so we're going to have to wrap this up, guys.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna let it get, because I think we're gonna have to push the interview back. And if you're listening, Kia, um, guys, we're gonna have to push that back for a few minutes, okay? We will be on, but we're gonna have to push it back a little bit because I've got to take a stretch break. My neck is crooked and all of that. But I gotta say this: the questions I have are for Cherise, and this is what I was wondering as I watched this and rewatched this and rewatched this, and I thought about her position, and she's very defensive about something, and
Everything.
everything. Yeah. But hold on, Jr. But she's about everything. But I think there's something specific going on, and so the thought occurred to me. The two things occurred to me that I think where it may be really stemming from, and then it just kind of spills out onto everything, as you say. I wonder, for me, I wonder, where did Cherise go to college and graduate from, and if or if she did. Because, and the reason why I say this, because I have nothing against, if you don't have a degree, you didn't go to college. I have nothing against people that make their way through other means to make it to the middle class, upper middle class, or to be successful in whatever way they deem their success, right? Because we all view it differently. But what I'm saying is that for some people, even though they own their own business and they're successful, sometimes they feel some ways stunted or cheated when they're around other successful people like Zadia, like Ashley, that have a bachelor's, maybe a master's degree in this country. They're kind of treated and perceived differently. There's a level of intellect that people may think or feel or even treat them as if they don't have. And I'm not saying that's true, but that's one. So I'll put a pin in that. And then my second one is with Cherise, is what is her end goal as it relates to children? Does she plan on, she keeps saying all this stuff about she doesn't want a man that has children. Okay, you don't want a man that doesn't have children. You don't have any children. Okay. So is the end goal you meet some guy who is successful, polished, all these great things, loves to take you out and wine and dine you because apparently that's a big deal to you, right? The end goal is that you plan on having a couple of babies for this gentleman, or no? What's going on here? Because you're already 44. Have those
Mhm.
eggs been frozen? What's going on? I need to know. Those are my questions for Cherise.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Some people aren't maternal. She may not have that in her future plans. I haven't seen that mentioned. And she hasn't put an emphasis on wanting to have any children. So it's more about getting into a relationship, getting married, I would have thought.
Okay, and that could very well be. She may just want to be, because you're right. Something you said, Jr. What was that question that she asked about once the man? He said that he had 4 kids. She says, "Where do I fit in?"
Yeah, like it feels like she doesn't know where she's going to fit in because he's got a lot going on there, right?
Mm.
I.e., if he's got 3 or 4 kids, he's got an ex-wife. If any of them catch a cold or feel sick, he's going to be on the phone to those 4 people. And then, her wants and needs being in that pecking order, she's probably going to be right after those 4. So
Mhm.
she wants to be number one.
But
Mm,
like you said, does she have a maternal instinct? Because it's not that she can't have one, but if you so hardcore and driven and so focused on yourself, you haven't willing to give that same give something to somebody else too. If you're ready to love, you have to let go of anything that's impeding your walk. You have to embrace a person even if they have children.
Mm.
And you're 40 something years old. Most men may have had a wife or a divorce or children in that time. So, you're getting slim pickings if you're trying to just get a guy that doesn't have any children.
Mm.
It can
And
be, but that
I
he
would,
didn't want children, though, you know.
yeah, some men do want children. Some have had them already and don't want any more.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think there has to be, I mean, if you want to have a relationship in this day and age, career driven or not,
Yeah.
like even if you don't want children, you have to have an element of warmth.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
want to say if you're not maternal, then
Mm.
that needs to be heightened, that warmth, because the guy doesn't want to feel like you're just out to get married and that's it. And what he's getting is basically a barrage of questions and, you know, pretty much a brick wall when it comes to anything about yourself. And that's why I say take your time to build a connection, because if you are able to open up, like drop your guard, and he can drop his guard, then
Mm-hmm.
you know he's not going to tuck into that salad as much. He's going to get to know you.
Not
Right.
that salad.
But if you got that wall up, then yeah, you're going to watch him eat.
Yeah, because really all she was talking about and asking in the first part where we did see them actually having conversation before the food came out, it was all preliminary and / superficial stuff. Because once you get past, well, what do you do for a living? Okay, do you have children? And he tells her that, then, you know, I don't know. It's
Food time.
like, I'm sorry?
Food time straight after that.
But he's a lawyer, so he picks up on the pronounced and subtle cues of the conversation as well.
He does, and she needs to know that. And like I said, I asked the question about her educational background and level and achievement, because when she said also, when he said he was an attorney, she went right into, you know, I have friends that are attorneys and we laugh and joke about suing one another. And I thought to myself, now I'm no attorney, but I do have acquaintances and had boyfriends in the past that were high-powered attorneys, and I'm gonna say that that's not really something that's funny, that you don't ever joke about suing somebody if you really know what that entails. That is very serious. And he basically kept his stern face and told her, he said, that's always the last resort. I was like, yeah, Sharice, why are you joking about that? I think it was because I feel like it's because she doesn't have that educational obtainment that he has. He's went to college for 7 years, and he has basically a very professional, highly professional job. He owns his own company. She owns her own company too. And like, I'm not trying to compare them or make it a competition, but I do say I think there's something that Sharice is hiding behind, because she's even said it in the house. And on that note, let's pull it to the house and wrap this thing up. Let's come full circle. Tamika Lee comes back and she sits down with the 4 ladies at the house, and she says, well, you know, do we need house rules? And she begins to ask if everybody was in the house last night. We get to Zadia, and Zadia says that she was at home, which is a bald-faced lie, because Ashley, her friend confessional, tells us that it's a bald-faced lie. And then we get to Sharice, and Sharice says, well, you know, I don't appreciate you calling me early in the morning, waking me out of my peaceful sleep to come open the door to let you in. What is your take on that, GR?
Well, Sharice doesn't want her beauty sleep interrupted. But I think Zadia lied, because not only did it come out through the other lady, can't remember her name, but the guy also said what happened as well. In his confessional, he said, you know, he went and picked her up. She called, he went and picked her up, and they spent the whole night talking. That was it, and then he dropped her back. So Zadia did tell Porky Pies right there. And I guess she didn't want to get any heat for what she actually did. But then Sharice, you know, I think Sharice is a little jealous of Zadia finding a connection before she has, potentially. Because why would Sharice be upset? No guys actually entered the house. No guys came in.
Yeah, true.
So her boundary was respected. So if she's saying, oh, well, no guys can come in and none of you ladies can go out on dates by yourselves either, then, you know, that's basically controlling what other people are doing in the process. So I think that's too far. I think that's a little bit, a little bit too controlling.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that you do think men should be able to come into the house?
No, I'm saying, well, if that's what the ladies want, If they want to get to know these guys, then they're gonna have to do other some. They're gonna have to spend some time
Yeah.
other than out on the dates that the show specifically puts for them. So if it's telephone time, that might work because it's still early. And I think that might be Sharice's point. You only know these guys for 5 minutes. So to invite them into the house, you don't know what's gonna happen. Because we have seen at times when some of the castmates go out when they're not sanctioned or being recorded, then sometimes things can go down.
Mhm.
So Sharice made a big deal about it. She obviously has a boundary, and that was respected. But Zadia wasn't truthful with the fact that she went out and had alone time with this potential connection. And then Sharice being petty, trying to speak to this guy and pry information out of him about what him and Zadia actually did. I thought that was ridiculous. Focus on your own connection.
Hmm.
She
Okay.
seems to be having some kind of nurturing concerns. Some nurturing concerns come up with her. Also, being controlling, being insecure. A lot of stuff going on with her. That she comes across.
Which her, Calvin? Sharice, the light skinned one, or Zadia? Sharice.
Sharice.
Okay.
There's something about her that she's not. Um, you're 44. You're not. You're not. You haven't been married, no children. You've been career driven, but you may have a personality that's too
Abrasive.
controlling, micromanagement, and you don't want to give enough to other people to consider their needs. But it's always about
What you want.
you
Mhm.
making sure that you're okay. But you always have, especially when it's leading to love, you always have to consider the needs of others. You know, are you really capable of doing that? You know, are you too putting too many barriers or too many unrealistic expectations of people, but yet you're not really able to deal with the balance that you need to have in your life. You know,
Mhm.
Hmm.
she's not very compassionate. Maybe she is, but maybe
We're not seeing it.
she needs to be more relaxed and just not be so driven. But like somebody said in another episode, another scene, they said, yes, money really drew by that, but I noticed you have to have balance in your life. You have to have something more than just money. You have to have a loving relationship, they were saying, you know. You can't
Right.
just be so driven by money. You have to have balance. You don't have the balance that she needs. Maybe she do. Let's see.
Right. And that's interesting because you're right. The loving relationship part is what you should be leading on if
Yeah,
you want to find love.
that's right. Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
If you're career driven to the point where you just want to understand the assignment, which
Yeah.
is okay, I'm going to find someone, get married, and move,
Hmm.
then you're trying to get to the end goal without doing the necessary work to complete the assignment, right? You
Hmm.
just want to ace the test. Yep, I found someone. We've only been on
Hmm.
2 dates, but he's already proposed, and I'm moving to New Orleans. If she thinks that's going to happen, then okay, live in
Right.
that reality. But I don't think that's how it's going to work. Um, it's okay to be all about yourself while you're
Hmm.
single, but if you want to have a relationship that leads to marriage, then it's not about you anymore. It's about what both of you can do to build a relationship that's going to be
Hmm.
stable and lead to the marriage that you're looking for. And that's where I think
Right.
she falls off. She's never been in that space, to, in my opinion, where she's had to think about the other person and how
Hmm.
they may be viewing her and what they're looking for from
That's
her.
right. That's right.
It's all about this
Hmm.
checklist that she has,
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
big or small it is. You have to meet that criteria and then propose to her and then get married. Yeah, that's how rigid and regimented it has to be. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. She doesn't have the
Right.
warmth to
Hmm.
just to captivate um
There
guys
you
to be falling over her like that. And I've seen that from not only the season she was on, but this season as well. And
Yeah.
that's why my point last week was how far has she grown since we last saw her?
go.
Hmm.
You did pose the question, and I was trying to
Exactly.
remain optimistic, but already on episode 2, I have to say for Sharice, and Sadia, my optimism is waning. It's waning. I mean, I'm still trying to hold neutral until I see more, but it's starting to wane, ladies. You
Hmm.
know, you guys, Ashley. Well, you know what? On another note, though, Ashley and Vernisha, I think, are showing some growth and some positivity and some good using their conversational skills and their dating skills thus far. Thus far.
Yes, they are. And the thing is, but they haven't been the most problematic people on the show on either team that they've been on. So I
No.
would expect that result. But
Hmm.
I think Venetia hit the nail on the head. And this is something I've said continuously through Ready to Love. And now it's probably going to be said quite continuously through this show as well. Instead of using your energy to argue and beef with other people in the house, you need to spend that energy trying to find your connections.
That's right. That's right.
There you go. And
Mhm.
Venetia said that. Venetia said that. She said all this energy they using to argue and debate and go back and forth. Because to me, like for example, if I could kind of, I personally not like, I know you said the grown people they should, you have a point too. I kind of see your point that the men should be able to come to the house. However, I kind of feel Sharice's side though too, that maybe as a woman, I might not want all them strange men walking around. My door might be open. I might be in the middle of undressed, thinking that it's just us girls when it's actually men peeping in on me. I don't like all of that. But
Mhm.
to the point though, is like the bottom line is use that energy. I felt like Sharice at any point in time when Zadia was being confrontational and debating her, I felt like Sharice could have easily dropped out and said, well, you know what? I said what my desires are. Whatever you guys decide to do, that's what I have to live with. But I said it. And then Zadia said that she had accepted it and said it was okay. So I don't know if that part is true because, here's the thing I wanted to get to, guys. I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about Zadia outright lying to Tamika Lee? Did that change your minds, your perspective of her at all? Because it kind of our guest here in the chat says D says she was disappointed that Zadia lied.
But
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like you said, use your energy in a more constructive way. They some of them have been on the show before, I gather, and they saw where they fell short. Why can't the four of you sit down, be strategic, and do some game, be strategic about how it is that you can get to where you can get the love of your life, and be honest with yourself about the problem, of what you bring to the table, and what you don't bring to the table that's interfering with the process. You used to be more strategic. You're there together. You're seasoned, you have intelligence, you have a lot of things to offer. What is it that's preventing you from being in a loving relationship? Why does it have to be a house environment? Because you're there together. How come you can't flip the script and focus more on empowering yourself? Because after all, it's something was consistently done. That's why you have not achieved your objective, being in a long-term relationship. So be honest with this. You should put all your cards on the table and say, "This is what I've done thus far. What can I do to make it better?"
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm. Well,
See,
that's. Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple of things. I think Zadia didn't want to get into trouble. She didn't want to get the heat, but also she didn't bring any guys to the house. So that's where I think she was she was kind of playing both sides, right? Technically, she didn't break the boundary that was set, but at the same time, she still snuck out, and Sharice obviously didn't like that. But
Well,
why
I want to
Sharice?
know what happened
Yeah.
while she was out. Jr., are you curious?
Well,
Because I am.
well, the guy said that they just talked all night, and that's what Zadia
Mm,
said. So I don't think anything crazy went down.
okay. Okay.
But I think also by Sharice saying she doesn't want the men in the house, she's also ruining her own chances to get to know one of her
Yeah.
connections more
You're right.
intimately.
You're
So
right.
that to me, like if you're so focused on what other people are doing, you don't want men in the house. It's like, okay, cool. So you're saying that you don't want to get to know these guys outside of these dates. And so it goes back to this instant coffee type of mentality. Okay, look, I'm just going to see you for 5 minutes. We're going to sit down, have a salad, and then I want you to basically answer all my questions, then propose at the end of it, if you like.
Mm.
That's not going to work.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's a good point, Calvin. And your summary, real quick, and then I got a quick question, and then we're gonna shimmy and shake on up out of here. And by the way, guys, if you are in our chat, watching and you want to come back, because Tequila will be here. I just spoke with her, and we're going to bump that to 8:30, guys. So we will be back here live with Tequila from last season of Ready to Love Dallas, what I call the Dallas Diva Tequila. So guys, we will be back at 8:30. I have to change the times on the thumbnail, but it is 8:30. Go over and set your notification. We will be going live shortly. But what were your final say? And I have a question for both you gentlemen after you give your say.
Well, okay. Now, the interesting thing about this season is that you're dealing with a matchmaker. So your goal is to really explore and be brutally honest with yourself. Why is it that you have not achieved your objective to be in love, not just fall in love, but to be in love? You have to be honest with the fact that you're looking for something that may be more of an illusion than a fact. You have to be able to deal with a person and deal with yourself at the same time, and be fair to the fact is that you should be open to constructive critiquing and accept the fact that maybe it's not so much the person you're choosing, is you as well.
Right. So my question, guys, and I know this is last minute. I didn't give a chance to get you guys acclimated to this while we were back in the green room. But my question, and you could take a second to think about it. My question is, if we were to flip this show around and bring it back next season, but make it 4 men that were RTL alum, who would you say that you would like to see come back? And you don't have to give all 4. If you just have 2 or 1, you can just give that 2, 1. Or if you don't have any, that's fine too. I understand. But I have 3 on my list. But do you want to opt out, Calvin? Because I know you just started watching Ready to Love, so you may not have a. Do you have a guy from last season, for example, that you think you might want to bring back for this type of setup where they would have 25 women to date to finally pick someone?
I have to opt out because I'm really not certain. I'll opt out for now.
Okay,
I'm not
that
certain.
and that's fair. That's fair. You know what
Mhm.
I always say? I love a man that tells me when he doesn't know something.
Yeah.
I love that. That's ooh. Anyway, but you're married. But okay. But but go moving over moving over to you, JR. Do you have any men that you know of from the Ready to Love alumni family that you would recommend if we were to do this show and the men were at the helm and they were the lead? Which 4 men would you pick?
Mhm.
I wouldn't pick any, to be honest. I don't think it's a situation that would work out well, because men get deemed as players when they date multiples, and then when it comes to narrowing down to one connection, if it isn't done fast enough or in the right way, then there's going to receive a lot of backlash and a lot of heat. So for stringing people along and all the other stuff. So I wouldn't recommend this type of process for any of the guys on the previous season. A lot of them couldn't even cope with the previous setup where you had 10 women, 10 men. Dating multiples just wasn't. It seemed to be quite a stressful
I
process.
thought the guys seemed to like dating the multiples.
No, they didn't. No, a lot of the guys, particularly in recent seasons, have said that they just found it stressful. I'm thinking of people like Randall from a couple seasons ago, thinking
Oh
from
yeah, from
Justice,
Miami. Yeah.
even last season, Herbert. There has to be a time where you lock down to one connection, and having 25 to start with, yeah, it would be too much, too much.
Well, they taking them now from the way I'm seeing the format kind of shape up. They're taking them 2 at a time, so it's not as bad. But but I was gonna say, so I have a few picks that I thought of, and we're gonna start with our very own Ron. We're going to start with our very own Ron, who, as far as I know, I believe is still single and dating with a plan to be married and to be in a long term marriage. So I would say Ron from the Houston season. Those of you that aren't regulars here, because you know Ron is usually on our Ready to Love panel, right? I would also say one of my favorites besides Ron. I would say Phil from the DC season. I would say Phil. And then I would say from last season, I would bring back Country Chris, and I would bring back Brandon that was divorced with the 4 kids. I would bring him back.
Mhm.
Mm.
guys, if you're watching this on the replay, drop down in the comments and let me know who you would bring back of the men for a season like this, where they have to pick their pick between 25 ladies. Let me
Who
know
knows?
who
That might be the next season, right? You might flip it.
they might, and I want to be ready for it. So I'm thinking about it. I'm pondering over this, and that's what I came up with. I came up with Ron, with from the Houston season. I came up with Phil from the DC season, one of my favorites, and I believe that we may have him in the house soon. And I came up with Brandon and Chris. So I think these are all people that, to me, seem like they were more serious about finding a connection, and I think they would do well in this process.
Mm.
Oh, somebody else is agreeing. So yeah, you're saying Christopher. So that's country Chris, not Nigerian Chris, because I wouldn't bring him back. No,
I think
no,
I think they're going to struggle. I think too much opportunities, too many options makes it very confusing to narrow down. So no.
Oh, someone has a good one. Okay, JR, you might remember this. What's the name of the guy whose father created Go-Go in DC, the DC season, the shorter guy?
That was, I know who you're talking.
No,
Wiley.
Wiley. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
D, you would bring back Wiley? Yeah, that's a good one. I can see him.
I think the downside to Wiley is a lot of the ladies didn't like the fact that he was younger, much younger than them.
Okay.
So that's,
How old was
and then he
Wiley?
kind of got close to Tequila, I think her name is something like that. Yeah, like he kind of got close to one of the ladies on the show, the one that ended up with Phil at the end, and she chose herself.
Oh, Shiloh?
No, not Shiloh.
You mean not
Dakia? Is it? I swear it's Dakia.
Oh, Dakia. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right, because she was the older woman to his
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
But that was the only lady that really felt him. The lady that was his age group, she was looking for someone older, and I think that's one of the downsides to him being on the show. The ladies in his age group were looking for someone older, and the older ladies weren't looking for someone that young.
You missed our interview, apparently, because that DC season, there actually was someone that liked him, but she got sent home early. She got sent home early. There was someone very beautiful, and I'm trying to remember if her name was Stephanie. But she's in our sit down conversations playlist. But she liked him very much, and in fact, I think they had begun to meet each other's family outside of the show. Okay. So I don't know what I think he kind of wasn't ready for a real committed relationship, was the gist that I got. Now I don't know what really happened, but that's the gist that I got. Yeah, Dee says she agrees with Ron and she likes Phil too. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see what Kimberly, she's been watching since the beginning. She says she'd bring back Ron, LJ. Yeah, I know that's your boo thing, that LJ from Miami. And then who is this? Mike, the one that played the piano. Kimberly, is that Mike from the first season from Atlanta? Big, strong, handsome Mike? I don't know which Mike that is, because there's been a few Mikes. Mimi said, don't bring back that Playboy LJ from the islands.
Mike from Florida. Oh no, the one that played piano for the ladies. Who was that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She said he played piano. Who played the piano? Guys, we got to get out of here. Tequila will be here in a minute. My Dallas Diva will be here meeting me with Kia, Simone, and myself. And I got to get ready. Okay, guys. Cool. I have loved this. This has been a lot of fun. I want to thank my wonderful panelists, JR. Tell them real quick where they can find you at. And I'm put your thing back up on the thing.
Look me up on the Instagram. IG is JRXTV. You find me there, and also in the YouTube you have me as JRXTV. Also, link in the chat. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do that for the other castmates and panelists that we discuss and that we're on with tonight. Aubrey, as usual, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish everyone a good night.
All right. Well, real quick, and Calvin, you want to tell them that you got some shorts going on your channel, and you're building your channel up.
Thank you so much, Aubrey. Thank you so much, Ron. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to be on this dynamic show that is yet still evolving. My name is Calvin Thompson. I'm on Facebook under Calvin Thompson. Also, I am on YouTube under the Transformation Process, Calvin Thompson. And I'm an author. My most recent book is Be Transformed by the Renewal of the Mind, available on Amazon.com. And I'm just looking forward to it, yet still evolving myself. God bless everybody.
Amen. Amen. And again, I just thank my panelists. They are so awesome. They're always amazing, amazing people. What is she saying? Big Mike. Big Mike with the bald head. I still don't know, guys. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my memory banks. But right now, my mind is on Tequila. We getting ready to shimmy and shake on out of here, guys. So come on, help us shimmy and shake. Let's go. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye. Have a great week.